Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mac. Boys and girls, today we are talking about border security, national security. We are talking about walls, and nobody knows more about walls than David Hasselhoff.
I've been looking for freedom. I've been looking so long.
Yeah, he helped him tear it down. Maybe he can help him build one back up again. We can build that wall back up again. All right, let's move on to some Q posts here. 2577, 58 minutes after the hour of 10 p.m. Plus 17-minute delta between tweets, cherry on top. And if you watched my video from yesterday, we talked about it. It was this tweet in response to an Anon on 8chan who had said, please tweet the word knowledge on POTUS next tweet for one more coincidence. And then we got this tweet here. Former FBI Director James Comey under fire for his testimony, acknowledging he knew that the Democrats paid for that phony Trump dossier. Details on Tuesday night. Okay, well, that particular one says 9/28. And if you look over here, this one says 6/28 is where I got it from, and 6/28. This particular tweet came 17 minutes after this one here. James Comey's behind closed doors testimony reveals that there was not evidence of campaign collusion with Russia when he left the FBI. In other words, the witch hunt is illegal and should never have been started. That was posted at 6:11. The other one was posted at 6:28. So that would be a difference of... Yeah, exactly. So there you go, Anons. There's your cherry on top. Let's move on to 2578. 13 minutes after the hour of 11 p.m., we get this Twitter link to Nathan Kane. Sometimes intrusions have a way of safeguarding people and evidence. And here he is on Twitter. Update, keeping my head up, staying strong in the Lord. 22 days since the FBI raided my house and still no answers and no return of my equipment, which means I still can't work. God, please bring vindication and please expose those involved. Don't allow any evil to befall me. Amen. All right, well, let's hope this guy stays safe. And if you remember this, Dennis Nathan Kane, DNC, interesting initials, yeah. This guy was a former contractor for the FBI, and he ended up turning up with some, we're not really sure exactly what it is, whether it was documents or something, but it had to do with the Clinton Foundation and Uranium One. Now, this was the whistleblower that was scheduled to be on Hannity. Remember, we were supposed to have this big episode on Hannity, and this was going to be one of the three guests that got canceled. The other two, I imagine, being Sarah Carter and John Solomon. But this guy was supposed to bust it wide open. Now, we did end up getting this sort of in written form, but we didn't end up getting it on Hannity. And that got canceled so that they could cover the Bush funeral all weekend. So you remember this story. And this was the guy who got raided by the very FBI that he turned over materials to. So why would that happen? Q says sometimes intrusions are a necessary event in order to safeguard chain of custody, post OIG whistleblower status, plus doc handover protocols. Active criminal investigations of this magnitude must be handled with extreme care. Precisely. So whatever was going on here probably was another grab. Now, this very well could have been intentional. It seems to me like taking his name out was intentional. But for the reason for the raid, we're going to talk about in the future post here, but I have an idea. It was simply just to protect him. Now, obviously, it sucks. This guy can't work right now. If he works on the computer, I know how that feels. I work on my computer too. So if you don't have that, it literally takes away your office. So, my thoughts go with this guy, but he obviously had something. Now, I don't know how he came into it. I'm not exactly sure who handed it to him, but he clearly had something of importance. So it looks to me like this FBI intrusion, if you will, very well could have been for his own protection. Q kind of alludes to this when it says, the moment your name went live, there was no other choice. Keep the faith, Patriot. You are never alone. So hopefully this guy will stay safe and we can hear what he has to say. Next post, 2579, 32 minutes after the hour of 11. Q takes us back to post 2502, and this was from November 25th. Border security equals national security. And this is the fiscal year 2019 defense spending bill. Budget overview. We talked about a lot of this. What if the House fails prior to majority change? Well, POTUS is still going to be able to do what he needs to do. He's got the coin. What vested authority does the Constitution grant a sitting president regarding matters of national security? Well, those are the key words right there, national security. We're going to talk about that. Thank you, Mr. Soros. Of course, he's the one funding most of this open borders project, right? Then we get these links here. The first one is to Twitter. President Trump. People who do not yet realize how much of the wall, including really effective renovation, has already been built. Yeah, if you remember, within weeks of talking about it, he was already down in San Diego, and it was in some of these other areas. And a lot of it was just renovation, not necessarily new wall. If the Democrats do not give us the votes to secure our country, the military will build the remaining sections of the wall. They know how important it is. Yeah, and so does he. Look, Donald Trump knows one thing, and if you've read his book, Art of the Deal, there's one thing that he always knows, is that he's got to deliver at some point. And he knows that the wall is this, basically, there's going to be a point amongst his own base that if he doesn't deliver this wall, it's not going to work out well for him either. And it looks like it's probably going to go down. Now, we know we've got this funding through the military. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But the point is that I think Donald Trump really wants to raise hell about this situation so that it becomes one of these major talking points in the MSM. That's kind of the way he kind of tricks them into talking about it. And we get this from Fox News here. Trump threatens to have military build border wall. Pelosi, Schumer won't budge. And that was kind of the point all along. We've been talking about this for months. President Trump threatened Tuesday to have the military build the remaining sections of the U.S.-Mexico border wall, appearing to revive a call to use Pentagon money to finish the project ahead of a meeting with congressional Democratic leaders opposed to the president's funding request. People do not yet realize how much of the wall, including really effective renovation, has already been built. If the Democrats do not give us the votes to secure our country, the military will build the remaining sections of the wall. They know how important it is, Trump vowed, capping a series of tweets meant to set the stage for the White House summit. Of course, that's like I said, if he's tweeting about it, he wants people to talk about it, even if they're talking against him. For their part, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi and Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer put out a joint statement Monday arguing Trump and his party will own a government shutdown if they can't strike a deal. And that's exactly where it looks like this is probably going to go. I don't think Trump's going to budge on that. But here's really the meat of the matter here. Trump wants $5 billion for the project, while Democrats are offering $1.3 billion for border security. So let's check out how that talk went today.
A majority vote for a wall, no matter where it's
Exactly right. If I needed the votes for the wall in the House, I would have them in one session, it would be done. It doesn't help because we need 10 Democrats in the
Don't put it
Senate.
on the Senate, put it on the negotiation.
Okay, let me ask you this, and we're doing this in a very friendly manner. It doesn't help for me to take a vote in the House where I will win easily with the Republicans. It doesn't help to take that vote because I'm not going to get the vote of the Senate. I need 10 senators. That's
Mr.
the problem.
President, you have the White House, you have the Senate.
I have the
you
White House. The White House is
House.
done, and the House would give me the vote if I wanted it, but I can't because I need, Nancy, I need 10 votes from Chuck.
But
let me say
Mr.
something
President, I want to just say one thing. The fact is, we do not have the votes in the House.
Nancy, I do, and we need border security. Nancy, we need border security. It's very simple.
Of course we do.
We need border security. People are pouring into our country, including terrorists. We have terrorists. We caught 10 terrorists over the last very short period of time. 10. These are very serious people. Our border agents, all of our law enforcement has been incredible what they've done. But we caught 10 terrorists. These are people that were looking to do harm. We need the wall. We need, more important than anything, we need border security, of which the wall is just a piece. But it's important. Chuck, did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
here's what I want to say. We have a lot of disagreements here. The Washington Post today gave you a whole lot of Pinocchios because they say you constantly misstate how much the wall is built, how much of the wall is built, and how much is there. But that's not the point here. We have a disagreement about the wall,
Washington
whether it's effective or not. Not on border security, but on the wall. We do not want to shut down the government. You have called 20 times to shut down the government. You say, I want to shut down the government. We don't. We want to come to an agreement. If we can't come to an agreement, we have solutions that will pass the House and Senate right now and will not shut down the government, and that's what we're urging you to do. Not threaten to shut down the government,
You don't
because you,
wanna
let me
shut
just
down the
finish,
government,
because you can't get
The
your
last time you
way.
shut it down, you
Yeah,
got
let me
killed.
say something, Mr. President. You just say my way or we'll shut down the government. We have a proposal that the Democrats and Republicans will support to do a CR that will not shut down the government. We urge you to take
And
it.
if it's not good border security, I
It
won't
is
take
very
it.
Why are you the way that you are?
Anons already knew that. Yeah, we knew about this defense spending bill from back in November, and we went through it. You can go back and check my videos, probably November 26, I would imagine. And I also talked about the omnibus. And if you just type in Pursuit of Truth omnibus, you will be able to get some of the idea of how this military spending will fund the wall, as well as a lot of things in Gitmo, which we're not talking about today. We're mostly talking about the wall. But Q is letting us know that we already knew this. And I think that Trump is simply placing this matter out on Front Street to clown the Dems, just like I showed you there with Pelosi and Schumer. By the way, Schumer has terrible posture. You ever notice that? So they were trying to talk tough, but they don't really have much for this. Nothing that's going to actually do anything for national security. And of course, we know that border security is national security. We see that in the next post, 2580. 39 minutes after the hour of 11. We get this here from the White House, and this is actually a video to Kellyanne Conway, and this is the Twitter link to that video. Let's check it out.
Look, border security is national security. The president's first and primary duty is to keep the American citizenry safe, and he's trying to do that here. I like what Kevin reminded us, your colleague Kevin Quirk, that in 2006 we had something called the Secure Fences Act. Let me go through some of the 26 Democratic senators who voted for that 12 short years ago. Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Hillary Clinton, Senator Joe Biden, Senator Barack Obama. When politics weren't involved and national security and border security were on their minds, they did the right thing, and we hope they'll do the right thing here. The Democrats have a central question in front of them, Bill. Do they want to keep the government open, or do they want to keep the borders open?
Well said by Ms. Conway, and I think the idea here is to start putting these ideas out for the public to decide, especially, like I said, as we see this issue raging on in France and really all throughout the EU and really all over the world. People are rejecting this open borders policy, and what better way to showcase that than to put Pelosi and Schumer right there on Front Street on national TV and make them have to debate the president themselves. And of course, they came out looking like clowns, because the fact of the matter is that nationalism is not this ugly-headed monster that people are trying to perceive it to be. It's simply trying to protect our borders. Border security is national security. Let's move on to the next post, 2581, 4 minutes after the hour of 12. We get this link right here. Q says, read carefully, and it takes us to this motion. This is a U.S. attorney motion opposing DCNF request to unseal FBI raid documents December 7th. So the Daily Caller was trying to unseal these documents from this raid, okay, on this Mr. Kane. And this is the response. Now, we're not going to go all through this here, but I want to turn you on down to, let's see, where's 3? There we go, right there. Several harms would follow from unsealing the search warrant during the government's ongoing criminal investigation, as described herein and further in the government's sealed supplement. First, unsealing would expose details of the government's investigation and impact the government's ability to secure charges in this manner. The identity of unnamed subjects not yet charged would be revealed. There may be mistaken notions concerning who may be subjects in regarding eye care physicians, any targets of subjects of the investigation are not likely to appreciate the full scope of the government's knowledge. The government is continuing to investigate potential criminal conduct and is informed by the results of evidence obtained through the search warrant. Permitting public access to the search warrant materials, which describe in detail the status of the investigations to date, would allow any targets or subjects of the investigation to hew their statements and or conduct to the government's evidence, frustrating the government's search for the truth. Okay, so I think we get what's going on, right? So it looks to me like this FBI raid was a bit of a protective measure for this Mr. Kane, right? Why is Clinton Foundation back in the news? Well, because we know that Huber is going to be testifying really soon. And I imagine that since he's been tasked with looking at all their misdeeds, particularly in regards to the taxes and Uranium One, that is probably why this whistleblower's name got leaked. Names of whistleblowers being leaked are put out for strategic reasons. Normally, a whistleblower is protected and shielded from all non-essentials classified. Yeah, so maybe they wanted to go ahead and keep him quiet. But if you remember back here in this post here, where Q says here, the moment your name went live, there was no other choice. Keep the faith, Patriot. You are never alone. Yeah, if they're going to get it out there, they might as well put a hotline on it, right? That way, if anything happens, everyone has to ask questions. But if he's just somebody that they kind of mentioned and then he goes away, then we've had so many stories that are just like that. We never hear from him again. And we need this person to be safe if he truly is a solid whistleblower. So it looks like it got leaked, but I'm assuming that this raid probably was to protect the information, probably to protect Mr. Kane. Kaine, and we all know that he was supposed to talk on Hannity and did not. So it looks to me like this guy's probably in a little bit of danger here, and the only way to really do that is, like I said, make the light even hotter. That way everyone's paying attention. Name, identification, public, FBI, intrusion, and intrusion is in quotes there. Lawsuit, response to lawsuit, public reveal, otherwise sealed, moves, and counter moves. Yeah, it looks like the deep state wants to go ahead and try and find out who is listed in that investigation, or at the very least taint the investigation. So it looks to me like maybe this raid was to protect all that, to protect some of the information, to protect Mr. Kaine, and to make sure that this goes on without revealing what else might get tainted if we have a grand jury already. Let's move on to the next post. Post 2582, 27 minutes after the hour of 12. We get this excerpt here from The Hill, and The Hill link is down below. We're just going to read the excerpt here. Wow, what a show. President Trump on Tuesday engaged in an extraordinary argument with Democratic congressional leaders over his demand for border wall funding, threatening a government shutdown if he does not get the money. I will be the one to shut it down, he told House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer at the White House. During the contentious meeting in the Oval Office, Pelosi repeatedly asked Trump not to discuss the funding request in front of the news media. You will not win, Pelosi told Trump. The meeting was scheduled to be closed to the press, but the White House unexpectedly opened it to reporters just as Pelosi and Schumer were arriving at the White House. The exchange heightened the sense of drama surrounding government funding stalemate between Trump and Democrats. Okay, well, this kind of reinforces my point here. And then this graphic takes us back to February. And if you're new to Q, we talked about this at great length. If you remember, you'll remember how many ideas we were kicking around regarding this red castle and green castle. And we ended up figuring out that the red castle was representing the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. As you can see, there's their logo right there, a classic red castle, and they're located in Greencastle, Indiana. So we had ended up figuring this out after, quite a bit of searching, and we found a lot of really great ideas, but this was essentially what was kicking in. And right around this time was during the time of the omnibus. We were talking about funding the wall. I already talked earlier in the video about the omnibus. You will not win, Pelosi. You did not think the largest military spending bill in history, being this FY 2019, wasn't going to indirectly include funding for the wall, did you? Yeah, no, it was very, very clever. And you'll remember, not only this spending bill, but the omnibus, President Trump was talking about how nobody really read it. And he was going to go ahead and sign it, but he kept pointing out that nobody really read it. He read it. Learn the Constitution regarding vested powers of POTUS regarding matters of national security. Yeah, well, essentially that means it's not going to matter. And that was the point he was trying to make on TV today with Pelosi and Schumer. Look, we don't really care. I'm going to drop this bomb anyway because it's a matter of national security. This was planned and forecasted as the border funding solution from the beginning. Yeah, and we knew this. And my boy in the Matrix over here gets a shout out. Red Castle, Green Castle, decoded. Guess what the Army Corps of Engineers can build? Walls. Yeah, they can build walls. They build bridges. They build all sorts of stuff. They're engineers. Anon's had the proof long ago, but shining a light back then would have defeated the primary purpose of showing the public the real objective of Dems, party of open borders, elimination of ICE, elimination of security, defend illegals over Americans, midterms, election. These people are stupid. Yeah, and we've talked at such great length about all of this, right? But the point is that even though we really, really wanted to build the wall right away, we wanted to go ahead and protect the election, we've allowed for so many kind of mammoth problems to occur. And although that's a very painful thing to watch, it's probably the only way to really educate the public as to what's really going on. Now, I don't say that haphazardly. I mean, I think that's really essentially the only way you can fix this. The only way President Trump is truly going to get support on this wall, and I'm talking overwhelming support. He's already got it amongst his base, which is already huge. But to get those rest of those people on board, they've got to see some problems. And this has been progressively getting bigger. And now that people are seeing it all around the world, particularly in these countries where they've kind of always, prop them up as these bastions of democratic socialism, if you will. Oh, look how well it works over there. Look how well it works over there. And now you see that everybody's rioting. Everybody's tired of this whole open borders thing. It's causing so many problems that many people are rethinking this. Countries are rethinking this. These people are stupid. So essentially, in order to get the funding for this wall, All it really took was shining a light on the fact that there's a problem there. But there was a big problem there, and it needed to be shown. So there you go. The money's there. The money's always been there. I've always maintained that the money's been there. Anon's had the proof long ago. Let's go ahead and move on to the next post. 2583. 50 minutes after the hour of 2 p.m., we get this ABC link here. Q says, think Graham Kavanaugh exchange. And the link is to ABC News from 2001. Civilians could serve on military tribunals. Pentagon lawyers designing historic military tribunals to try terrorists are poring over history books and legal tomes for guidance. While U.S. law permits the executive branch to design the commissions with few restrictions, even with little regard to the precedent, officials drafting the rules are reportedly keeping history in mind. America has a long tradition of using military tribunals to try foreign combatants and even terrorists, reaching as far back as the American Revolution. Most recently, military commissions were used extensively by the United States during and after World War II. In 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt used tribunals to try 8 Nazi saboteurs who landed on the East Coast, apparently to harm wartime industrial production. Hundreds of German and Japanese prisoners were tried at military tribunals, including after the fall of Nazi Germany. White House officials say the administration is carefully studying the rules and procedures used at the Nuremberg trials, which resulted in the indictment of scores of Nazi officials and organizations charged with abetting the Nazi effort. The Nuremberg trials were distinct from military tribunals established in the United States in that they used high-ranking civilians as judges. Some experts say placing respected civilians on the Bush terror tribunals, such as retired U.S. generals or former secretaries of defense or attorneys generals, would go a long way towards shoring up international support for such commissions. The more that can be done to make this process appear like a regularly constituted court, the greater it will be received in the global community, said Sean Murphy, a professor at George Washington University Law School. The Bush team is also reportedly looking at rules of procedure drawn up for Korean War-era military commissions that never took place. The rules provided defendants with reasonable opportunity to consult with the counsel before and after defense to interpretation of charges and the substance of the proceedings, as well as any documentary evidence. The defendants were to have the right to remain silent, to cross-examine witnesses, and to a presumption of innocence until guilt is established beyond a reasonable doubt. The Bush November 13th order establishing such commissions has already said the tribunals might not carry the reasonable doubt burden of proof or other principles generally recognized in U.S. civilian courts. Okay, and then the rest of this article goes on to talk about, past incidents in which this was used. So this is interesting stuff. Q is bringing this up from 2001. Interesting that we're talking about an article from 17 years ago. I know. Think Graham Kavanaugh exchange. And of course, we're talking about Senator Lindsey Graham talking to Justice Kavanaugh. And at the time, they were talking about the law of armed conflict and how that could result in military tribunals. And of course, Kavanaugh was confirming that indeed some citizens could be tried through military tribunals. And then that would kind of change the whole ball game, right? And it was an interesting topic to bring up, and it seemed like Graham was definitely putting the topic out there for everyone to hear about. So could we be looking at some arrangements to get some of these? Who knows? Could it be General Flynn? Could it be Kelly? Could it be Jeff Sessions? Some of these guys, could they be overseeing some future military tribunals? I guess that we'd have to look at some of these people who have been stepping down or leaving office. Maybe they could be walking into different roles. You can tell me who you'd like to see down below, but I think we're seeing some arrangement, or at least the talk of some military tribunals, which of course will go much faster than any special counsel ever could. Let's move on. Post 2584, 1 minute after the hour of 4 p.m., we get this Fox News link right here. Q says regarding number 5, impeachment. And this is Mark Levin on Fox, A Time for Truth. And he's talking about a few things. He makes 5 points. Well, let's read number 1 and number 5. Number 1, a sitting president cannot be indicted. That's official DOJ policy since 1973. Neither the special counsel nor the Southern District of New York nor Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein can defy that 45-year-old policy. All right, let's cruise down to number 5, which is where Q wants us to pay attention to. As for impeachment, NDAs involving wholly private matters occurring before the president was even a candidate and completely unrelated to his office cannot legitimately trigger the Constitution's impeachment clause. Indeed, they could not be more irrelevant. The history of the clause and its high crimes and misdemeanors language make it crystal clear that the office and the president's duties are not affected in any conceivable way by these earlier private contracts. Of course, Democratic Representative Gerald Nadler, another New York City radical, could not care less. He's more than thrilled to be an executioner in this French Revolution redux. This Constitution be damned. Meanwhile, he and the others wave around the Constitution as if they're defending it against a tyrant. It is they who are the tyrants. Well, clearly these are just talking points meant to kind of enrage the left, and of course the unhinged left doesn't take much to get enraged these days. Q goes on to say impeachment requires 2/3 vote by the Senate, and then gives us this link here. And the first paragraph pretty much sums it up. The United States Constitution provides that the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment, Article 1, Section 2, and that the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. But no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present, Article 1, Section 3. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States are subject to impeachment. So, good luck getting it through. What are the odds of that? I would say precisely. You are watching fake news, fake politicians, fake Hollywood all play to their destroy America base. Hashtag facts matter Q. Let's move on to 2585. How do you quell growing protests against you? And the link takes you over here to SeanHannity.com, otherwise known as Shannity Manhunt. Suspect in Strasbourg shooting identified, was on terror watch list. The suspected gunman behind the deadly shooting in Strasbourg, France, Tuesday evening has been identified and was on a terror watch list, though officials refused to release the man's name or age. A shooting in the French city of Strasbourg killed 2 people and wounded at least 8 others, officials said. The shooting sparked a major security operation around a world-famous Christmas market on Tuesday. The gunman, who is at large, has been identified and had been flagged as a suspected extremist. Wait a minute. The gunman, who is at large, has been identified and had been flagged as a suspected extremist, but we refuse to release his name or age. Okay. Just in from NBC. French counterterrorism prosecutor opens investigation into Strasbourg shooting incident, Paris prosecutor tells NBC News World. Just in, French police, Strasbourg shooting suspect is known to authorities and on a terror watch list, although we refuse to release the man's name or age. Suspect remains at large. Everyone in the Neudorf area warned to stay indoors because you never know when this guy comes around. We totally know who he is, but we're just not going to tell you. All right. Well, this seems pretty handy indeed, right? Let's just blame it on this lone gunman guy. All your problems out there, Macron. I see what's going on.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Well, more projection from our favorite deep state knuckleheads. How about that? So, yeah, this ought to go great considering Macron's popularity out there, right? Yeah, this should go over real well. Kind of like the totally woke all-female version of Ghostbusters. Yeah, that was a killer, wasn't it? How about orange juice and toothpaste flavored Doritos? Yep, that was a lesser known flavor that didn't quite make it. My point is, I don't think this is gonna happen, and I do think that this is all gonna start shifting to QAnon. You start to see, we saw the other day these pictures of, with the French out there, and they're wearing their yellow jackets, and they got little Q stickers or stamps, or they drew it on there or whatever. I imagine the deep state is gonna take these pictures and try and conflate it with some sort of story like this lone man suspect right here, who's totally dangerous. Just can't tell you who his name is, right? Exactly. We're anonymous. There's too many of us at this point, and you don't quell growing protest. This is a force that really needs to be reckoned with out there in France, and the only way I can see this happening at this point is Macron stepping down. I hope the people accept no less. I think that's the case. It remains to be seen, but this movement is growing around the world. It looks like Q is posting as I'm making this video, 2586, 46 minutes after the hour at 10 p.m. We get this Twitter link right here. Q says, what a coincidence. And this is from Filthy liberals. Lots of sealed indictments. That's a quote from Sarah Carter. Let's hear what she has to say.
William Campbell spoke to the Little Rock, Arkansas FBI field office recently, and he delivered that information. And now we know there's other whistleblowers coming forward. So something is shifting, something is happening, and Hillary Clinton and the foundation are being investigated. We'll just have to wait and see what they find.
I know everybody's frustrated because this has only been a one-sided investigation. So it's all been
That's
all
right.
things Trump. But, and I think you all will confirm with me, is that my sources tell me all of this is coming out. From the dossier, to FISA abuse, to the Uranium One deal. All agree? Hope you're
I
right.
agree. Lots of sealed indictments, Sean. Lots of
Okay.
sealed indictments.
I have very good sources. I really do. You guys do too. Great work, all three of you.
Say something else so I can smell Whopper again.
I can almost smell that flame broiled goodness right there. I smell something else burning here on 2587, 33 minutes after the hour of 11, 2333. We get this right here. Breaking fire out in Raycom Infotech Park, which houses Googly's office in the Zhongguancun Technology Hub in Beijing, China. Wow. Breaking fire breaks out in Raycom Infotech Park. And the Twitter takes you to the status right here. And here's the video. Look at all that black smoke. My goodness, that is definitely not a stack of papers burning right there. All burning on the roof. What's all that black smoke? How about that? Well, then Q gives us this link right here. And this is pretty interesting timing. I was actually just working on this story. Googly CEO says no plan to launch censored search engine in China. And that's that Dragonfly. In a hearing with the House Judiciary Committee on Tuesday, Google CEO Sundar Pichai kept saying the company has no plans right now to launch a search product in China, but that response leaves plenty of room to launch when it does want to. On Tuesday, Google CEO Sundar Pichai testified in front of the House Judiciary Committee on a host of different subjects, including perceived political bias in the company's search results, artificial intelligence, and alleged manipulation of search results. One looming issue, though, which came up a handful of times in the hearing, is Dragonfly, Google's highly controversial search product for the Chinese market. As The Intercept first revealed, Dragonfly would censor certain search terms, in particular around human rights. The search platform would also make it easier for Chinese authorities to surveil and track those using the service. Okay, this is essentially what it's all about. It's this search engine Dragonfly, and this is what Mike Pence was talking about some months ago, and he was urging China to ditch this whole thing or they were going to have to deal with the repercussions. During the hearing, Pichai responded to a question about Dragonfly from U.S. Representative Sheila Miss Jackson, if you're nasty, Lee, who asked how the company would censor search results from users seeking a lifeline of democracy and freedom. Okay, not everyone is searching for democracy there, Miss Jackson. And of course, Miss Jackson is the very same Miss Jackson who was caught wearing that little pedo ring. Just saying. Right now, we have no plans to launch in China, Pichai said. Well, it looks like that might not be the case, Mr. Pichai. That looks like some black smoke going on. Q says, Google CEO says no plans to launch censored search engine in China. How do you cover your tracks? Start a fire. Yeah, it works for California, works for CNN, works for Google, works for Facebook. Google says no plan to launch. Da-da-da-da-da. What if Google already gave access to China? Well, that's the case, and I think they already have some evidence stating that. China launch. Will China be announcing a state-funded and state-made new search engine in the coming months? Yes, it's called Dragonfly. The fire that brought down Google. Wow. So this fire might have a little bit more implication than we realize, but it looks like Google is in a panic covering their tracks. And like I said, this has been going on for some time. We're very aware of Dragonfly, and it looks like they're going to try and push this through anyway. Let's get some more here on the next post, 2588, 42 minutes after the hour of 11. Q adds on here. Google. Upcoming financial statements should receive extra scrutiny. And in brackets here, we have 10Q. I'm assuming Q is talking about their quarterly statement known as a 10Q, which a lot of these major corporations have to file with the SEC. Follow the money. Help will be provided. So we need to be looking at these upcoming financial statements. Well, it looks like we're not going to have to look far for help. In the next post here, 2589, 29 minutes after the hour of midnight, we get this graphic right here. We're going to look at it in a second. We also get this Twitter link here. Q says, what a coincidence. And that takes us to MAGA Swagga on Twitter. Look who dumped a bunch of googly last week. Well, let's take a look. Look at this. Looks like someone was dumping a whole bunch. Pichai Sundar. Oh, hey, if you think mirror and read that backwards, that's Sundar Pichai. Yes. CEO of Googly Alphabet Incorporation. Looks like selling off quite a bit of shares here. 1,000 shares here, 700 here, 800 here, 1,027 here. My goodness, where's the fire, Sundar? Oh, we saw this before not long ago with Facebook, and we also saw it with the Twitter. And now it looks like Sundar Pichai is not the only CEO of Googly with his hands dirty. If you remember, just a day after last year's executive order from President Trump, Eric Schmidt stepped down as CEO of Alphabet. So now it looks like Sundar Pichai is also in a bit of hot water, and we'll be finding out when we see his 10Q. Q says, what a coincidence. Coincidence? I think not. Those are your Q posts. Looks like the deep state's not the only one in a panic from the LA Times. On December 11th, Facebook building in Menlo Park cleared after bomb threat. A bomb threat forced the evacuation Tuesday afternoon of a building on Facebook's campus in Menlo Park, California, authorities said. Bomb detection dogs searched the building at 200 Jefferson Drive and found no suspicious packages or devices, the Menlo Park Police Department said. The incident began about 4:30 p.m. when Menlo Park dispatchers fielded a call from the New York Police Department saying that it had received an anonymous tip of a bomb threat at Facebook's headquarters. Facebook management requested the evacuation as a precaution, authorities said. Menlo Park officers surrounded the building and helped direct traffic out of the area. The building is all clear and secure, the police department said in an alert shortly before 8 p.m. It's unclear how many people were in the building, and here is the tweet here from Menlo Park PD. Update to bomb threat at 200 Jefferson Drive. The building has been evacuated and the bomb unit is on the scene. Okay, interesting stuff. Sounds a lot like what we saw at CNN the other day. And finally, I'll leave you with this from CBS News. 44 former senators warn of threats to democracy as Mueller probe nears conclusion. 44 former senators wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post warning the current Senate that we are entering a dangerous period and we feel an obligation to speak up about serious challenges to the rule of law, the Constitution, our governing institutions, and our national security. Specifically, this bipartisan group of former lawmakers led by former Senators Chris Dodd, a Connecticut Democrat, and Chuck Hagel, a Nebraska Republican, pointed out that Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia probe, we are on the eve of the conclusion of Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III's investigation and the House's commencement of investigations of the president and his administration. Yeah, we just need 2 more years and we're going to get him. The likely convergence of these two events will occur at a time when simmering regional conflicts and global power confrontations continue to threaten our security, economy, and geopolitical stability, they wrote. The former senators indirectly expressed some concern about rising partisanship, telling the present class of senators that in the past, the Senate has been a place of comedy. During our service in the Senate, at times we were allies and at other times we were opponents, but never enemies. Okay, so I think you see what's going on here. They're taking all these global and regional conflicts, if you will, and using it as sort of an excuse, along with Robert Mueller's investigation wrapping up and these new investigations that we're hearing about. And they're trying to conflate them all, saying this is a terrible time. So this is really, really adorable. 44 former senators wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post. So I guess it takes 44 of them to get an op-ed out. How about that? The deep state panic is real, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I got for you today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who already do that. If you are new to my channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that from time to time you will be unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed. That's just the game that social media plays with us when you are conservative. All right. All my links are down below. My Gab, my BitChute, my Real.video, which is now Brighteon.com. This is my Twitter right here at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. My email is also down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below. All those links are down below. All right, guys. Thanks so much. This is Sir Patrick Mack. And until next time, stay cool.
Thank you.